Hey guys, I'm Madison Mary and welcome back to my channel. So today what I have for you guys is my best books of 2018. The biggest thing that I want to say is this is not like a top 10 best or anything like that. This is more like a tentative books that I really enjoyed last year. Let's get to it. One of the first honorable mentions is going to be Shadow the Fox by Julie Kagawa. I love this book. I did a buddy read of this. I even read this during one of my reading vlogs, so I'm gonna put that up here if you guys want to take a look at it. So this is about a girl named Yumiko. Yumiko is actually a half kitsune, which means she's half demon fox. And what happens is she is raised in a temple that looks after a part of the dragon scroll, and then one night all of these demons called Oni come to the temple and kill everyone, and Yumiko is the only one to escape with a piece of the scroll, and the master of the temple tasks her with taking this piece of the scroll to one of the hidden temples. Yumiko, however, bumps into this guy when she is leaving, and he is the caged demon slayer, and he has been tasked with going to the temple to steal this piece of the scroll. So Yumiko then finds a way to convince him to help her find this new temple. However, she is keeping it secret that she currently has a piece of the scroll. This is just such a fun journey. Yumiko was just this very sweet and innocent girl, you know, she's raised in a temple, she doesn't really know much of the outside, so you're kind of seeing her in all of her naivety. And then the demon slayer it's really interesting seeing how he kind of has this whole internal battle with this demon and the sword, and you know, trying to keep his soul his own, and they kind of along the way pick up these other people to like join their kind of gang, and it's just such a fun novel. I just love the Japanese culture that was also in this. It read a lot like an anime in the sense that it reminded me a lot. I don't actually know. If I say what it reminds me of, it's going to spoil it a little bit, so I'm going to say that. I absolutely just adore that aspect of it, and so it had to be an honorable mention. The way that I talk about these honorable mentions kind of makes it be like, why don't you just put them on the list? I don't know. It's my list, I can decide what I do. The next, oh my god, I just hit the thingy that drops it there. The next honorable mention is going to be Kiss of the Royal by Lindsey Duga. I read this book last October or something. I read it within 24 hours. I just completely just devoured this novel. It is just so much fun. It is such like a classic fairy tale fantasy book, and I just love that like classic fairy tale fantasy vibe that I got from it. It's not something that I see very often, and you know, I feel like this is a book that a lot of people would probably pass up because it does seem very juvenile and not so in-depth, but I found myself totally falling into this world, and it was just such a fun time, and I loved reading it. In this land, there are descendants of like the original like king and queen. If you have a royal bloodline in you, you have these special powers, and the range of these powers depends on how much of the bloodline you have. So if you are either a direct descendant or you only have 1/9 of a royal blood in you, that impacts how powerful you are. And so we follow Princess Ivy, who is a direct descendant, and she is one of the most powerful princesses out there. And the way that it works is when a princess kisses a prince, she is able to transfer power to him, and his power then awakens and he becomes super strong. There's a war against this darkness. Princess Ivy is then set with the task to find this ultimate darkness and destroy it before it fully develops and kills everyone, and she is partnered along with this other prince. However, this prince doesn't really believe in the kiss of the royal and believes in just using his own powers, and he thinks the kiss is evil. It's interesting watching Ivy and Zach on their mission to go stop this darkness when they have such opposing views, and I felt like it went a lot more in depth than I had expected it to, and I just really loved that about it. I read these two books back to back and they were both phenomenal, but the one book that I have been raving about and I feel like it does not get the like praise deserves, it is just such an amazing novel and no one's ever talking about it, and I've been raving about it since I read it in the summer, and that is Onyx and Ivory by Mindy and Arnett. I love this book so much. It is so much fun. I rave about this book in my summer wrap up. This book, from the first chapter, I found myself just totally enamored with Kate. I connected with her instantly. I even, you know, I was pretty emotional when I was reading this book, and so I even cried when I was reading her chapters, because just the way that she was treated and the way that she picked herself back up and was so stubborn and yet powerful was something that I just adored. And Corwin, who is the prince, he was unlike a lot of princely figures. He was just this prince and he was just always so unsure of himself, and Kate in the end ends up being, you know, this person who's always pushing him to become, you know, who he's supposed to be and to accept who he is and to kind of, you know, not be such a wimp. Anyway, what I really loved about this was also the magic system, because wilder magic is forbidden. You're not allowed to have the power, and if you do have the power, you are then taken and put into a prison. Kate has to keep her wilder magic secret. However, one day she uses it to save Corwin, and then from that they start to realize that these demon dragon creatures that live outside all the city walls is starting to come out during the day now, so it's never safe to go outside. And so Kate and Corwin are now investigating to see where this evil magic is coming from, and it's just such a cool adventure. And the next book is coming out this year and I cannot wait for it. It's called Shadow and Flame. The next book I want to talk about is The Queen's Rising by Rebecca Ross. I am just in love with this cover, and I just realized now this actually has deckled edges. I hate deckled edges, but it's fine. I still managed to read this. Makes it sound so. I will avoid books if they have deckled edges because they're just a pain in the ass to read. I did rate this book 4 out of 5 stars just because the beginning is slow. I would say this book is in 2 halves. So the first half, it has to deal with Brianna as she's at the Magnalia house where she is learning her passion and developing it and waiting to get chosen by a patron. And the second half deals with her patron and learning kind of the underground politics that's going on in this battle between these 2 neighboring kingdoms, and how she kind of gets swept up in it. And the second half of this novel is just such a whirlwind. It was such an experience. There's this one scene in here where you find something out, and I sat there when I was reading it and I was like, my god, this makes this book like so good. So one thing that I want to say is, like, if you do read this book and if you find the beginning is slow, that's because it is slow because of all the world building that is going on. The world building in this is phenomenal. I feel like I know everything. Oh, I need to take a step back and just quickly explain what this is about, because I can't let this video be too long because I'm already 14 minutes in. We follow Brenna, and she is at the Magnalia house trying to figure out her passion. There are 5 passions, and they are art, music, dramatics, wit, and knowledge. And Brianna is kind of in the Magnalia house as the 6th girl. She's not really supposed to be there, but they made an exception for her when she was younger. She never really found a passion that suited her, and she settled on knowledge. But when the day comes to be chosen by a patron, she's not chosen, and she ends up staying at the Magnalia house until this other patron comes, and he's a little bit shady, but she goes off with him anyway, and then she's put into this whole political world, and it's just so amazing. And the next book for this comes out called The Queen's Resistance this year, and I'm also so pumped for that. The next book is going to be Girls of Paper and Girls and Paper and Fire by Natasha Ngan. Oh my god, I could not put this on this list. This book is amazing. I feel like a lot of people know what this book is about. I feel as though many people had this on their top books of the 2018, and that's just because it is such an impressive book. I went into it not really expecting to love it. The hype is real. The hype is worth it. This book was so amazing, and it was something that I thought about after I finished it. I love the female-female romance in this. It's something that I'd never really experienced before in a fantasy setting, and I adored it. The ending of this killed me. I can't. But now I need the next one, so But if you don't know what this is about, we follow Lei, and she is part of the paper caste. She's kind of the lowest class, and she is taken away and swept up to the Demon King's palace. And here she is made into one of his concubines, or a paper girl. She doesn't really want to be there, and she kind of starts resisting against it. There is a lot of trigger warnings in this for rape and sexual assault, and it's just so intense, and I ended up loving it so much more than I thought I would. Next, I have to talk to you guys about a book that hasn't really been mentioned much on my channel because I read it in, I feel like, February or March last year, and that is The Last Namsara by Kristen Ciccarelli. I really want to hold it up, but it's so shiny. The Last Namsara was such an amazing book. It had all the dragon elements, and it was a book that I found last year really got me back into reading. It was just such an amazing world, and the dragons The dragons, it's such an awesome take on dragons. So this book is about a girl named Asha, and she is known as the ɪɪsᴛᴜ, and the ɪɪsᴛᴜ is kind of looked down upon. It's known as the bad in the world, and the counterpart to the ɪɪsᴛᴜ is the Namsara, and the Namsara is the good in the world and positive and kind of the light bringer. And so Asha, after a terrible incident with the dragon, is labeled as the ɪɪsᴛᴜ. Asha makes it her duty to kill every dragon that she comes across. However, as time goes on, she starts to realize that maybe what she's doing isn't right, and it's kind of this whole moral story. I still haven't read the companion novels. One came out last year, another one's coming out this year, so I need to like get on that train. So the next book I want to talk to you guys about is The Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis. Yes, I finally own this in physical copy. I'm so happy. This book is so special. I'm not gonna go too far into it just because I have a whole audiobook version review on this, which I'll link right up here. But oh my god, this book has just stuck with me, and if it wasn't for the fact that the male narrator in this sucked balls, I would have given it a 5 out of 5 stars. But the male narrator on audiobook was awful. But this book is such a life changer. Oh my god. It changed the way that I just think about the world and everything about it. It's like the best book on rape culture I have ever read. And I said in my video that I think this book should easily be a required reading at high schools. I think it would just be so phenomenal because, yes, I understand it still has controversial topics and high school's all about censorship. But this book would just be so perfect because the way that it handles rape culture, the way that it handles girl hate and then female friendships. I love this book. I just don't know what to say that I haven't already said. Next, I mean, everyone should know that this book was going to be on here because I always rave about it, and that is Sadie by Courtney Summers. The first ever audiobook I listened to and got me into the audiobook train. To this point in time, it is still the best audiobook I have listened to, mostly because it is a full cast. I fell right into it. There are some people who don't think that it lives up to the hype, some people who don't enjoy the ending. I was someone who was initially kind of peeved at the ending, but I still love it. I feel like it fit the novel very well. And another reason why I feel like I enjoyed it so much was because I'm such a huge fan of crime TV shows. It was just like a true crime podcast and I adored it. And I also have a whole review on this. So check that out if you want to hear more of my thoughts. The next audiobook I have to talk to you guys about is one that I have not mentioned on here because I just haven't gotten around to doing my audiobook version on it, and I listened to it in December. I gobbled this audiobook up. It was so fantastic. And that is One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McMannus. Karen M. McMannus. I already purchased the audiobook of her next book and also bought a signed copy of it from Barnes & Nobles because I was that obsessed with this book that I pre-ordered her next one because it was that amazing. There's 2 female narrators and 2 male narrators. One of the guy narrators is once again as annoying as the dude in Female of the Species, which is so frustrating. One thing I really enjoyed about this was I didn't see the plot twist coming and I really thought that it was so nicely woven. I enjoyed seeing the characters and their individual lives. You got to see the family aspects of dealing with this death that, well, I should probably tell you guys what this is about. It's kind of been put as like a Breakfast Club kind of situation. So you have these 5 kids who are in detention one day and one of them dies. And so the other 4 kids become the prime I'm not even gonna try and brief her. And the other 4 kids become the prime suspects of it. And the child who died, his name was Simon. He ran the school gossip blog. And so that kind of gives all 4 of them a motive because the gossip blog was about to reveal a post that addresses each of the characters the day after he died. It was just so cool to see all 4 of the characters grow. They're forced to grow up not just as characters, but as teenagers to adults because they are put in this specific position. It really challenges morality, it challenges who we are as a person. I feel like some people would read this and kind of be like, oh, it's so cliche. I could 1000% see this being turned into some kind of a like short TV series. It'd be really fun to watch. I would 100% be into that. The next book I gotta talk to you guys about, Hunting Prince Dracula by Kerri Maniscalco. I rave about Kerri Maniscalco. I love Kerri Maniscalco. Still haven't read the 3rd book. I pre-ordered it and everything and I just can't bring myself to read it. I don't know why. I just can't. I think I'm just so afraid of reading it. I'm afraid of reading it. It's so weird. I devoured Talking to the Ripper and Hunting Prince Dracula back in the very beginning of the summer. It was the first book series that I picked up when I came home from college. I would look forward to coming home from work every single night just so I could read a little bit more of this book. I can't tell you too much about it because it's the second book in the series, but Talking to the Ripper follows Audrey Rose Wadsworth, and she is very into human anatomy and science, which is very looked down upon during the time period that she's in. It's like old Victorian London. She's such a fun character. She's so spunky and has this fire to her, and her grandfather is a medical examiner. She helps him with a lot of the autopsies, and then suddenly a lot of Jack the Ripper's victims start turning up on his autopsy table, and from there problems ensue as Audrey starts to become kind of involved with the deaths. She starts to take it upon herself to find out what's really going on, and from this, one of her uncle's other students, Thomas Cresswell, gets looped in, and Thomas is the sass master. It is the main reason why I love Hunting Prince Dracula so much, is because we see so much more of Thomas and his sassiness. Thomas Cresswell, guys, slow burn in this is so real. I'm okay with him being a slow burn, which is why it's funny that some people say that romance takes precedence over these novels. I feel like it's kind of on par. I feel like it's really not the main thing that happens, in my opinion, but to each their own. I'm fine if you don't like the book series. I feel like this is a book series people either love or hate, so nah. The next book I'm going to talk to you guys about, I read during Booktubeathon last year, which I failed, but it's fine. I'm going to try again this year. And that is Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller. Once again, a book that I read within 24 hours. It was the first book that I read for the Booktubeathon, and I adored it. It was just so much fun. It's a really short read, and it's just the best pirate novel. Our main character, Eldusa, has a lot of Selena vibes from Throne of Glass, which is why I feel like I loved it so much. Not the whole series, but specifically Throne of Glass. If you like Throne of Glass, you will like this book. This has to do with Eldusa, and her father is known as the Pirate King. He's the overarching lord, and he has tasked his daughter Eldusa with finding a piece of the map to find this ultimate treasure. And she knows that a piece of the map is in possession of this other ship, so she gets herself purposely captured in order to search the ship to find it without the people knowing. However, things started to go a little bit wrong, and it is just such a fun and witty novel. Next we have a book that I read when I was in Australia. I raved about it, said I was so surprised by how much I loved it, and that is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. People said it was overhyped. I don't think it was overhyped. I feel like it received the perfect amount of hype that it did. I will admit the first few chapters were a little bit slow. I feel like once I was 100 pages in, it just really took off, and it was just so much fun. It was so interesting seeing all the characters. So this book is about a girl named Zili, and she is one of the Magi, but they currently don't have any powers because the powers have been stripped from the land. So she is actually looked down upon. However, one day she ends up, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I went into this not even reading the blurb. Because I'm sitting here right now and I'm like, what does the blurb say about this book? And I just realized I don't want to give anything away because I never read the blurb. Yeah, I almost said something that would have, yeah, I'm glad I read this right now because I would have given something away. But this has to do with Zili, and she finds out that there is a way to get magic back into her land and to save her people, and so she then goes on this whole journey to try and get magic back. Oh my god. The ending to this. I mean, it's not one of the most cliffhanger endings, but it's the kind of ending where you sit there and you're like, okay, next book please. I need to know. It's so cool. It's just so much fun, and I love it. I love the magic system. It really does have a whole Avatar: The Last Airbender vibe to it. I can't wait to see more of it. I can't wait to see more of this magic system because it is so expansive and it has such potential to it. I can't wait to see where it goes. I feel like the second book is just going to be so much better. I really don't think this book is going to suffer from second book syndrome just because it can only grow from here. And I only have one last book to talk to you guys about, and although I did start off this video telling you guys that there was no particular order to this, if I had to recommend to you guys one book from this list to pick up, I would say Onyx and Ivory. And then if I have to tell you guys the #1 book that I read last year, I really don't think that it's going to be a surprise to anyone. Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. My love. I I love this book so much. It had so many feels to it and it was just so amazing. Oh, I am so glad that I vlogged my experience reading this and I tabbed it. This is the first book I ever tabbed and oh my god, I just, it was just so amazing. I love this book so much and I love this series so much, and if you don't like this series, you do you guys, I'm chill with it. But I love this series. It is my ultimate favorite series. I cannot believe it came to an end. I really wish I could have seen Sarah J Maas on her US tour, but she doesn't come anywhere close to where I live, so it's really sad. Just gotta change view a little bit because it just got super dark outside. All the feels, and if you watched my most recent weekly reading vlog, I show you guys my Thrown a Glass tattoo that I got because the first 3 books are just such a whirlwind. They take on such different perspectives of the world, and the world changes so quickly in those first 3 books, and then after the first 3 books it kind of, you know, it settles. It doesn't settle, like it's still freaking crazy, but the plot line kind of settles a little bit. But the first 3 books are just nuts in my opinion, but I love them. So this was my #1 book of 2018. Everything else I just loved. And then I had my honorable mentions, which I don't really know why they were honorable mentions, but they're just books I really enjoyed. If you guys read any of these books and love them as well, let me know down below. But that's all I have to say for now. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, please hit the like button down below. If you want to see more of me, please subscribe to my channel. And until next time guys, thanks a bunch. Bye!